Hi everybody, this is Laura, City Scrapper. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. Today I have a layout that I made for a Punched Out Thursday to Die For. And in a Punched Out Thursday to Die For, we use our punches and dies to create layouts. Allison Davis from Scrapbook Generation recently posted a video in which she used a whole bunch of hearts. Some of them were stitched, and she created a beautiful, colorful layout. That was my inspiration for my layout. It turned out very different, but the basic idea of using lots of hearts and using stitching and lots of color on the layout is the same. So I will link her video in the description box in case you would like to check that out. So I punched out way too many hearts, but I wanted to have a lot of hearts to choose from. I'm using the Vicki Boutin Color Study Collection. I love this collection. It's very different. I love getting collections that have something unique about them. I guess all collections have something unique about them, but I really felt that this was a unique collection. So it's one that I enjoy working with. So I used a whole bunch of different punches. I used a very large EK Success heart punch. That's the one that you see that has the smaller heart punched out in the upper left-hand corner. I also used 3 different Fiskars squeeze punches. There are different sizes of hearts. I used a Martha Stewart heart punch, and then I also used a very, very tiny EK Success punch to punch out the very tiny hearts that you see all the way on the left. I knew I wanted to stitch on some of the hearts, but I wasn't sure exactly what my plan was at this point. But I knew that for the hearts that I was going to stitch on, I wanted to reinforce those hearts with some white cardstock. So I chose the largest hearts, the next largest hearts, and then a medium-sized heart. I punched out some hearts from white cardstock, glued them onto the back of the pattern paper heart, and now I'm using this little tool and punching some holes around the edge of the heart so that I could do some stitching. I used gel glue to glue the hearts and the cardstock together, and I made sure that the glue was dry before I punched the holes out. I stitched only on 2 different sizes of hearts, the second largest heart and then that medium-sized heart that I had backed before. And I decided that I really didn't like that little tiny heart that's punched out of the larger hearts. So I'm going to layer that next size heart on top of these larger ones. Right now, I'm trying to figure out where I want to put all of these hearts on the page. And this background piece of paper is also from that Vicki Boutin Color Study Collection. So as Allison Davis suggested in the video, I'm trying to make sure that the colors are spread out, if not exactly evenly, just to make sure that I don't have too many of the same color in the same area. I like to make imaginary lines in my head that come from the center of, in this case, the hearts, both vertical lines and horizontal lines, and I want to make sure that if I extend a line up from the center of the heart, that it doesn't hit any other of the same color heart in the same place. So it's okay if the heart is slightly to the right or slightly to the left, but I don't want them to be exactly lined up. I just think that it looks better if those hearts that are the same color are offset from each other. I hope that that makes sense. I also wanted to mention that you may see some hearts jumping from one area of the layout to another, and that's because I spent a really long time rearranging these hearts, and I didn't want to bore you by including all of that footage, but you could see, for example, here I am spending a lot of time and thinking quite a bit about the heart placement, and that continues, and I make decisions that I don't necessarily capture on camera. The shape of this huge cluster of hearts is going to change a little bit. It becomes a little bit more of a diagonal that goes from the upper left-hand corner to the lower right-hand corner. But for the most part, this is how the layout is going to be arranged. And I'm going to mention that the yellow heart over to the right, that, in my opinion, is too far over to the right. Because that heart is there, it forced me to put smaller hearts to the left of it, and I don't end up liking the way that looks. So I will go back and fix that, but as always, I think that it's important to put the larger elements closer to your photo, and then as you move out from away from your photo, having the smaller elements. And that's just a rule of thumb. It doesn't have to be followed exactly. And you'll see on this layout, I didn't follow it exactly, but that large yellow heart just didn't work all the way to the right of the photo with very small elements right next to the photo. So the photo that I'm using is a photo of both my daughters taken quite a few years ago when we went to Cape Cod and we were getting ready to go out to dinner. My daughter Julia took a selfie of the two of them, and I thought that it was a really cute picture of both of them, so I thought it would be perfect on this page. So I was pretty sure that I was happy with the placement of all the hearts, so I attached them down. And then I mounted my photo on some white cardstock and then on some blue pattern paper. And now I'm using a piece of adhesive fun foam and I'm popping my photo up. And I know I'm going to put it over to the left of the layout, so I put some ATG adhesive on the back and I attach that down. Now that everything is in place, I start layering the hearts that I stitched on top of those slightly larger hearts that are on the layout. And there's a lot of dimension there because of the stitching on the back of the hearts. So I don't have to add any foam to those hearts to pop them up. They already sit up off the page because of the stitching. Next, I begin adding the medium-sized hearts that I've stitched. And for those hearts, I start overlapping them a little bit with some of the other hearts on the page. You'll see in the final layout that I thinned out some of the hearts, both to the right and the left of the photo. I just felt that there were too many. Right now, I'm trying to figure out what would be the best placement of the hearts. And again, I'm keeping in mind not having too much of the same color in one part of the layout. I was thinking for a few moments that I would leave this white heart on the photo, but then I decided against that and I moved that over to the right of the photo. I'm using my ATG gun to attach the layered hearts together. For some of the hearts, I go back later on with some glue and I attach them together. Some of the hearts seem to stick together really well and then others didn't, so I used glue where I felt it was needed. In addition to attaching the layered hearts together, I am also attaching the medium-sized stitched hearts to the background. I had to take a little bit of foam away from the back of the photo so that the turquoise heart would sit correctly behind the photo. And you can see that I'm continuing to add and move around hearts throughout this process. I wanted to add some of these chipboard pieces to the layout. I noticed that on her layout, Allison Davis added a lot of phrase stickers. So I'm using these chipboard pieces. They say things like currently, the best, right now, love this, real life, so lucky, and around here. And in general, I'm matching the chipboard color to the color of the heart. I really liked this chipboard piece to go underneath the photo because it had all of the colors that are in the collection in it. And then for the title, I'm going to use this title that says Crazy Good. This isn't the most meaningful or deep page in the world. It was just a moment that I wanted to document. So I thought that this title was perfect for the photo. I wanted to add another element to the background. I noticed that there were quite a few flowers on both the sticker sheet and the chipboard sheet. So I pulled a bunch of those flowers and now I'm arranging them on the layout. And once again, I'm trying to make sure that the flowers are balanced. I tuck all of those flowers next to one of the largest size hearts on the layout. And then once I decided where I want those flowers on the layout, I used some ATG adhesive to attach them down because a lot of them were chipboard and a lot of times chipboard doesn't stick. That's why I'm adding a little bit of extra adhesive to the back of the sentiments as well. The largest white heart was up on the top of the photo and I switched that out with the turquoise heart. That way the title would be contrasting with the heart that was behind it rather than just blending into it. And I'm sorry that for a short period of time the video is a little bit blurry. I did want to show though that I moved that large yellow heart in closer to the photo and I think that that made such a big improvement in the layout. I think the large yellow heart looks better filling the space right next to the photo than a whole bunch of smaller hearts. And then once I moved that yellow heart, I began rearranging a lot of the other hearts that were around it, and I did thin out that area a little bit. And then I started working on the hearts that are on the left-hand side of the photo. I thinned those out a little bit too and moved them around a little bit. I didn't mention that I added a chipboard arrow. I love the way it's, again, all the different colors of the collection. And then on the sticker sheet, there were these really nice, shiny, small dots. And I like the idea of scattering those around among the hearts to add a little bit of gold to the layout. On Allison Davis's layout, she used a very, very tiny gold heart to accent the layout, but I decided that I liked these little circles on my layout. But then when I realized that the chipboard sheet had 3 very, very tiny gold stars, I decided to add those to the layout as well. I added some flowers near the title. I like the idea of using elements from the rest of the layout on or near the title. And now I'm adding some more of those little tiny gold dots to the background. And then I thought, I've put so much stuff on this page, I need to add a little bit of bling too. So I am using jewels, and I feel that I don't use jewels all that often. I've been using a lot of pearls and of course enamel dots, but I just thought that this page called for some jewels. So I pulled out a whole bunch of different jewels in lots of different colors and quite a few different sizes. And I'm placing them both on the centers of the hearts and then also on the background. Earlier, I added some gold curved arrows from the sticker sheet, and I put one on the upper left-hand corner and one on the lower right-hand corner, and I like the way those kind of contain that large cluster, almost serve as like bookends to the cluster. And again, I'm not going to include all of the footage of me adding the jewels to the layout because there are a lot of hearts and I do put a lot of jewels on the layout. But for the most part, I'm adding jewels that are the same color as the hearts I'm applying them to. And then, as I had mentioned, I add a couple of accent jewels in the background. I realized now that the banner that's underneath the photo is not sticking at all, so I added some ATG adhesive. And then as I was looking at it, I was thinking that it might look nice to add some very, very tiny jewels between each of the circles that are on this banner. So I began doing that, and then I continue. I do go back to my stash and pull out a whole bunch of different colored, very, very small jewels and add those to that banner. I'm finishing up adding those jewels to the layout, and I just wanted to mention that so many of you talk about your scrapbooking in the comments, and I would love to see what you've made. So if you happen to be on Instagram and you would like to share what you've made with me, please tag me. It's at City Scrapper, but no pressure. I just feel like I know some of you and I'd love to see what you make. Well, the jewels are the very last addition to this layout, and here are some close-ups. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. I hope that you will check out the links to the other ladies who take part in A Punched Out Thursday to Die For. All of their channels are linked in the description box. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and I hope to see you again next Thursday for another A Punched Out Thursday to Die For. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.